Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about true crime and psychology. Thank you so much for joining. Let's hop right into today's topic. Let's go.
Welcome. I thank everybody that asked for this topic. You all were looking for my thoughts and feedback on Kouri Richins. Wow. So this past week on May 13th, which was the victim in this case, Eric Richins, that was his birthday, Kouri Richins was sentenced. And the defense attempted to move the date later on. We all did notice that all the attorneys were able to attend. And so they probably just moved things around, and all three attorneys were able to attend. And I personally wonder if they looked at Kouri's statement before she gave it. I don't know that she would have taken notes. If they had had notes, I don't know that she would have listened. And her attorneys seemed, Emily D. Baker talked about not seeing attorneys take things so personally. And that was kind of the language Emily D. Baker gave during her commentary about this. And it was a lot. We are going to talk about her facial expressions. We're going to talk about the kids' statements. I also have some thoughts about play therapy and the role of play and creative expression as kids are healing from trauma. And of course, I have some thoughts about her statement. You all have probably already watched it multiple times. I am not going to replay clips. You all know that this has been a lot. And so my heart does break for the Richins family, for Kouri's children. And when we talk about state of mind for Kouri, because I think it's pretty clear that she is selfish, greedy, and none of those are clinical terms. So those are just character traits, that there are some character things. And a big reason why I like having this channel is that some things are just wrong. It doesn't necessarily have to fit in to a mental health diagnosis. I did watch Nate Eaton did that's his name, right? I believe so. The reporter from Utah, he did an interview with Sky, Kouri's former attorney. I did watch that this morning, and I have some thoughts about that too. Okay. I'm going to try to not squirrel and ping pong all over the place. Please put question marks if you all have questions. So 3 question marks or 3 QQQs. That just makes it a lot easier to take a look at. During juror interviews, they said they didn't notice Kouri making faces. She just seemed stoic. I wonder why. Did they notice if they watched the sentencing? So the jurors, I think, were focused on the testimony of the witness. Because often when Kouri was making statements, it was often during, like when she was making faces about disagreeing with things people were saying, it was often at very impactful moments of the trial. And we had the kind of we were able to watch, and the pool camera would go to her every single time. So we were able to see that. The jurors did not notice it. So it is what it is. And I also want to note that her behavior to me was consistent. Sky tried to make it sound like in Sky's interview that Kouri's behavior had kind of become more out of character. Sky's so sweet. Aw. Sky is like ride or die for Kouri. Those are just my personal thoughts. I thought Kouri was kind of acting in a defiant way this entire time. I personally didn't see a change, but I didn't start paying attention until the walk the dog letter. So around the time of the walk the dog letter is when I started paying attention. So yes. Oh, somebody said, I'm not a professional psychologist. I do have Nestor said they helped her reduce her statement to 30 minutes and it was 49. But I think that was because of her crying. I don't know. Or her I don't think it was real tears, just my own personal thoughts. Yes, Nate Eaton. So I got his name correct. Hey, mama. All right. Yeah. Ooh. She's in charge of a recovery group in prison? Wow. So to me, she tried to make herself the victim in all of this. Um, because even okay, so we'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, I'm all caught up on comments. Oy, let me pull up my notes. So the things that really stood out to me from Kouri's sentencing was Katie bringing up that today was Eric's birthday. And Kouri made faces throughout until her side, people supporting her. That's when she seemed to look sad. But anytime the prosecution witnesses were making victim impact statements, she looked defiant, smug. She was rolling her eyes. She's like, like she was making all the faces, and it was very annoying. Judge M, I need to know what dose of Lexapro. I'm just joking. It's not a real thing. But like the piece of Judge M, I would have been so mad. Especially at sentencing. I don't know if and I think he intentionally, to avoid the defense feeling picked on, to avoid there being any type of appellate issue, because I do think the defense is going to try to bring up that one time the state might have made a face, and the judge put on record, I'm noticing faces from both sides. Like, y'all are going to talk to me about faces? Is that what we're going to do right now? Like Judge M, he just he just let her dig her own hole. He did. Because the faces she was making, to me, like she was not being respectful to the victims. Even if she disagreed, I don't think she had to be over there like laughing and very just and a part of it could have been, I don't know if she's playing up the cameras because she knows we watch. She knows that like we're going to plaster her reactions and her face everywhere, and it does get her name out there more. So that's where I'm not sure if she was doing it on purpose, and that's why I don't want to watch it again, because her boys, uh, her 13-year-old. So if I was the therapist for the 13-year-old and he wanted to watch the statement, depending on the person's level of stability, we might have a conversation about it depending on how the guardians felt about it. But he might be old enough to actually, now I would prepare him. Like, so what do you think your mom probably said? Who do you think she probably focused on? What do you think? So she's going to say she wants to say some things to you all, but she's going to make negative comments about your dad. Like, I want you to be prepared. So I wouldn't let kids go into it blind. If I was going to support a child in watching it, but she, that's the part that made it more maddening for me, is that the victims in this case, when they go back and watch, if they ever do, they get to see her continued defiance. I wonder if the parole board, I don't know, because I get that she's trying to say that she's innocent and she feels like people are lying on her, but and her and her family don't believe that the state proved their case. The jury disagreed. Ooh, and there is a channel. Y'all can put it in the comments if you know, but there is a channel that read through the the undercover detective's testimony. It's like, it sounds like, it starts with a C, O U. Y'all know me in names. So there is a channel that I watched that went over the sidebars and then also the testimony of the undercover officer. And so I did watch that. Yes, I think this is it. I think that's the channel. And she has great humor and I did enjoy that. the undercover detective's testimony, because I think one or two of the jurors mentioned how impactful that was, and hearing her read that and hearing just him talk about how Blues and Fent looked exactly the same, that it was cheaper, and so people were charging blah blah blah. So him going through all of that, I think that helps seal things for the jury. All right. And so yes, so it was definitely, yeah, so I think it's this. Yes. And so there we go. So that was the channel that I watched talk about it. Okay. And if anybody's watching on replay, and if you can't find the video, just do a comment and I will link and pin that video if you need to find it. All right, let's go back to the notes. Katie and Amy's testimony, their statements were, of course, very, very impactful. I didn't realize that the children were in foster care for 15 months. And while they were in foster care, they were still required to have contact with Kouri. At that point, there wasn't, I think they were having video visits with her up until that point. And when the family was able to get custody, and it's likely temporary custody, because I do believe the state of Utah is going to work on terminating Kouri's parental rights. And I'm sure that's what the family wants. I'm sure the family also wants for her to not have those insurance policies on the children. People have asked, was Kouri capable of doing something like this to her children? And just my general thoughts based on what we've seen, I don't know that she put anybody's happiness, anybody else's anything above herself. And she was in financial trouble. And one of the children did believe that he might have been poisoned, and we will never know if that's true because he wasn't tested, and so it could have nothing to do with this. But when you lose trust for your parent, it makes you rethink everything, and it makes you re-go over everything. And that was something that child included in their victim impact statement. As a therapist, I don't try to figure out if it's true or not. My biggest, so forensic interview would try to get at, medical records. A forensic interview would dig deeper. As a therapist, I'm working with what the person is remembering and what's coming out. It's very common that once a person is safe and no longer having contact with the person that they might have been afraid of, that all of a sudden they start talking more. And that's where play therapy can be really helpful because the kid, they don't have to talk about it. You're able to play games. They're able to, because all three therapists were registered play therapists. And a registered play therapist isn't just a therapist that uses play in therapy. They are actually like licensed. So they go through special training to be able to be play therapists. Yes. Yeah. So when you got your psychological evaluation, that she had, I don't know if she's a registered play therapist, but she does have like a play therapy office. Yeah, yeah, because you got to play with the house and everything during your breaks. Yeah, that was cool. Are you gonna go play? Oh no. Yeah, and you got to come and visit mommy and daddy while you waited. All right, cool. All right. So all right. So with play therapy, with registered play therapists, they're often trained to have kids recreate things that are distressing to them, memories, and sometimes a child's play, it'll just come out in their play. So as they're playing, they will reenact. That's actually a PTSD symptom. And in children, they will sometimes use figures or they'll use play to kind of heal their past trauma. And so yes. All right. So let's see. Do you have another question for me or are we good? Dad went to Wegmans. Yep. And I'm going to go to Wegmans a little bit later. Okay. I know. Did you want to play with Dad?
No, I went to show Dad something.
You did something? Okay, so I'll be done maybe in about 20 minutes or so. We'll see. Okay?
You must not have a lot of work.
Oh, so the video is not going to be too long. Remember, and I started at 1 p.m. I did a video on Cheyenne Bryant. It was a whole thing. That was the other video I did.
I heard something about Cheyenne.
Yes. Can I get back to the video? All right. Thank you. All right. And so sometimes those little breaks from heavy topics can be nice. For the first time, we heard about Kouri draining the personal accounts of the children and their college funds. We had not heard of that, that I could remember. And also funneling Social Security benefits that are supposed to go to the children to people who were not in care of them. And so I'm guessing that was to her mother. I'm guessing the Social Security benefits that are for the children. I'm guessing it was, I don't know for sure, but I would guess it was probably her mother. I don't know that for sure, but I'm guessing that's what it was. They talked about how the civil suit, how expensive it is. And Kouri I don't think she cares. I don't think she cares that wrapping things up and like continuing to fight the trust that the estate is losing money that is for her children, that Eric left to protect his children. And so hopefully now with these convictions and her being sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, and then once her parental rights are terminated, that may make her claim to the estate and also her being found guilty of like why he's not here. I'm guessing the civil suits, I'm guessing they go away, but I'm not a lawyer. So Josh Ritter, you'll have to ask Emily D. Baker. One of the lawyers will probably answer that part. She also talked about there's nothing Kouri will not do or anyone that she will not hurt that gets in her way. That was me paraphrasing the statement, and I completely agree. And Katie also said that Eric believed that Kouri was the most evil person he had met. I don't know, but I could imagine that's true. They do not like Kouri, and I get it. Katie, Amy, the Richins family, they are not a fan, and it is very clear. And I understand. And that really he stayed to be with his boys. And I think, and that he was concerned about having to share time with them. Amy, the sister Amy, brought up a really important point, and that's the complexity of grief. So Amy likely has positive memories with Kouri. So I think for Katie is any positive thing Kouri has ever done has been like pushed out of Katie's head. Like the bad has just outweighed the good. But for Amy, she really talked about kind of grieving the loss of her sister-in-law. And they might have been kind of close, not close, but like I think she's grieving like what was and maybe some of those positive memories, because when somebody does something this evil or bad or whatever, so Kouri isn't all bad. I know. Like Kouri could probably be funny sometimes. She probably was making fun of other people, but I don't know. Like Kouri might have had some positive aspects, and people have to grieve that loss too. And Amy talked about that a little bit, and that caught my ear. Amy also talked about Eric trying his death, that even in his death, he was still trying to be the children's shield by setting up the estate, and that they were really hoping the judge would step in as that shield and continue to protect the boys the way that Eric would have wanted them to be protected. Are the Richins sisters estranged? So I thought, so I don't know enough about that to know that. And so I don't know enough about that to comment on that. I thought I heard that too. I thought Amy said that she hadn't seen the boys, but I wasn't sure if that was because of something. And I don't know if a part of, because I could still tell that Amy still kind of cared for Kouri, but like is like totally wants the boys to be protected. But I don't know. Like that's probably messy. That's probably very, very messy. Probably very, very messy. Do you think the sons were being okay? So I'll get to the boy statements in a minute, and anything they said, I'm taking it as honoring their memory, honoring what they believe happened, how they feel, what's going on with them. Their recollection did not sound coached because even in the states, pre-sentencing, when they were fighting about um moving the date, or it was something in like the pre-sentencing, whatever was made public, where we learn that the child that was 8 years old at the time, and that was Kouri's alibi, that child remembers going to his parents' door and it was locked, and trying to use the broom to take down the key. And all of that sounds like something a child would do. Because even in our house, if a door is locked, we keep the little keys to unlock the door. We keep them at the top of the frame. Our child isn't tall enough yet to be able to get to it. Everything that was described in that sounded the way a child would say it. And that he was not that Kouri did not sleep with him that night, that she was in the room with their dad, and then at some point she did come into his room and he pretended to be asleep. So the way that he talked about that, it just sounded like the way a child would say it. Guilty Words does a good job breaking down words. As a therapist, it is my bent. So I'm not a forensic therapist. So I'm not a forensic psychologist. My goal, I'm clinical. So if this is what the child believes, we're going to work with it. So I'm working with what we have here. I'm not trying to unmask trauma that's not already presenting. Now, if we know that something's kind of there, we might use play, we might use some other things just to see what comes up, but I'm not suggesting anything. Because children can be very suggestible. And so I don't know enough about what happened. I can tell you the things that were placed in the legal documents sounded the way a child would say it, and they likely had forensic interviews with people that specialize in working with kids. I'm very glad that the state kept his testimony out of the trial, and I'm sure that was a decision. No child wants to be cross-examined. I just finished watching the Josie Dykman case. She was charged with the death of her stepson, and there was a bunch of, because the dad has an interesting past, and like there was a lot going on in that case, and one of the children did have to testify, and the way the child was talking, that he never did anything positive with his mother, that he like, when a child goes to the "you're all bad, you're all evil, I remember nothing good," sometimes that's more of a state of where they are in their healing. um Often in my work, I meet a child where they are. Often as they heal, they get to a place that's somewhere in in the middle. And for some people, their parent really was just that evil. So yeah. All right. Yay. Saturdays. I love hanging out with y'all on Saturday. All right. Yes, Guilty Words. It's a great channel, and so I really like, if you haven't subscribed to Guilty Words, she does great analysis of the language people use, and she's the one that broke down the 8-year-old, when he was 8 at the time, that language was very much the way a child would say it. And so yes, 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 yes. I learned stuff from listening to, because I'm not a linguist, so I don't specialize in how people say things. I'm looking for clinical signs. So as a clinical psychologist, I would be looking at signs of trauma. I'd be looking at how we heal, how do we move forward. Those would be my areas of focus. And I have supported clients in writing victim impact statements for court. And you always just sit back and say, what is it that you want to say? How has this impacted you? And in the older child statements, he might have included the questions he was being asked, because he kind of said, this is how this impacted me, because the questions that he was being asked might have been used. It almost was like he used it in his prompt for what he was talking about. Can Kouri engender such a loyalty that Chelsea Allie had no bad word for her and her attorneys? So Chelsea is tied to the financial crimes. And so I don't know, because there might have been some statements that we didn't see. So I don't know. Chelsea looked incredibly heartbroken on the stand. You steal $1,000 from me, and I'm never talking to you again. You steal $44,000 from me. Like, don't do crimes. Don't do crimes. 44,000, 42, whatever. You steal thousands. You steal a down payment on a house from me. Okay. I talked about this on another stream. I think it was the stream with my mom. My mom accidentally, she was paying her property tax for her properties, and our businesses share a name. The Mind Your Legacy, we are under a similar umbrella, and our bank accounts are connected. And she accidentally used my bank account to pay the tax bill and not hers. And I just texted her. I was like, or I called her, but we talked on the phone. It was like, hey, mama, is this you? Because I'm about to report fraud. Like, I'm asking you, is this you? Because if this isn't you, I'm about to report fraud. But I want to ask first, because they're going to ask me, does anybody else have access to my account? And like, they're going to realize, like, I don't. So I asked her first, and she was like, oh my gosh, like, it was an accident. She was sorry. She transferred the money back into my account immediately. Like, it was an accident. It happened 2 times. One time it was like 3 transactions, because I was getting scared because it looked like a scam, because the first withdrawal was maybe a few $100s. The next withdrawal was like 1,000, and the next withdrawal was like 2,000, or like the numbers were getting higher. And so I was like, who has access to my account? But it was a mistake. Mama put it back, and I had the peace of mind to be able to call her. But if my mother had refused to give me my money back that she took, we would have had a problem. But neither one of us operate like that. But like, if she didn't give me my money, we would have had a problem. And so that's where I stand on people that take money for people. Don't mess with my money. She better have my money. So I have written things off. So I have had clients that have had balances, and I do my best to collect balances. I do my best to not let balances get too high. You can take things to, like, you can send it to collections to be collected and things like that. I try to not let balances get too high, or like if I know somebody has a big deductible or something, I am doing what I can to make sure that I can get the money that I'm owed. But there have been times that I've had to write things off. So professionally, I do my best to get my money, but like, there have been times where the fight, it is what it is. But in personal relationships, all right. Let's talk about the faces Kouri was making during the children's statements. What is that a sign of? Selfishness, greed? So the children were pretty much saying, you hurt me. And she's over here being defensive, in my opinion. The children are saying, this is how your actions, my dad is never going to come to my graduation, to my this, to my that. You did this. And she's over here like they're poisoning them, like she's putting the blame everywhere else. I don't know that she will ever take accountability. I don't know if she can. It reminded me of Sarah Boone and Lori Vallow. It was just bad. Thankfully, Sarah Boone, she didn't write a letter to her son and like how, because it was almost like she was using the children as a way to say all the mean and evil things she wanted to say, but she was making it sound like it was for the benefit of the children. But I don't think it benefited the children in any way, in my opinion. In my opinion. So there was no accountability, and it was very much Darvo, deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. I did not expect her to be so just. She was so disrespectful. Her attorneys did not reel it in. So I think Sky would have told her to fix her face. I don't think Sky played. I could be wrong. I think Sky would have been like, I'm not doing it, Kouri. Like Sky was more, I don't know that Sky would have been over there kikiing with her like that. I don't know. But they had done that during the pre-trial hearing. So I will never forget the pre-trial hearing where the expert that was going to talk about pathways to violence, and they study it by studying cats. And her team are over there having a whole party. Like not party, but they are laughing. They are just having a big moment. Now, can I always control my face and my reactions? No. No. I cannot always control, but in court, best believe I do. So when I'm in court, I if people are saying things that I think are foolish, I do my best to maintain decorum, to maintain how my response is. When an attorney asks me a question that is so just, because I have testified in custody situations, in social service involved cases. So for termination of parental rights, it wasn't my recommendation because I don't do what's called a parenting capacity. So there are some therapists that will test, they'll actually, like there are tests and evaluations you can get to see, does this person have the capacity to parent? And I would love, Kouri's never going to do it. I would have loved to have seen, because I don't know that Kouri had the capacity to consider. I think children stress her out. I don't think she managed anything well, including herself, and she blamed everybody else for her unhappiness. The common denominator was Kouri, and she didn't want to work on it. So, all right, let's go on ahead and so for the children's statements, the advocates for the boy, so they're therapists, so they're outpatient therapists that were all licensed social workers, licensed probably clinical social workers, and they were all registered play therapists. They read it exactly the way the kids wrote them. And one of the kids talked about being put in the basement while Kouri was with a neighbor. And I wonder if she put them in the basement to play. So the children being upstairs, or like, because I think the children, so Kouri never moved the children the day of the incident. So Kouri was too busy following the detectives around and everything. She never attended to her children, in my opinion. When her mom made the statement about, the detectives were or like the police told the kids, it's like, y'all could have had a conversation with the kids. The mom is on body cam telling the kids, saying she told the kids to go to bed, that it's late and they need to go to bed. Like there was no emotional concern, in my opinion, my personal thoughts and opinion, how I saw things. There was no concern. Kouri was kind of upset in that, but like, some of that seemed like an act. Her like crying, but you don't see any tears. That's how it felt to me. Welcome to the membership. Would these counselors read those documents if there was indication of them being coached by Katie, as Kouri alleged? So counselors, so the kids' statements are the kids' statements. The kids, there have been times where I had concerns. Was a parent coaching a child? And I always talk with the child and get the language of the child. And I've had situations where um the kids were observing more than the parent knew. Either parent. The kids knew more. And so I personally didn't feel like their statements were coached in any way. Um that's how I feel. But their statement is their statement. And they wouldn't have because that's why the first advocate said these are read exactly as they wrote them. Um One of the children talked about being, if Kouri was ever to get out, that the child would be scared, really mad, worried that Kouri would take them away. And with Kouri in jail, they feel happy, relaxed, and better able to trust people. And Kouri was just rolling her eyes. Kouri was just rolling her eyes because she does not think that she's a bad influence to her children. Mm. Initials AR talked about, you took away my dad for no other reason. You only cared about yourself and your stupid bathrooms. So that sounds like something a child would say. So when I'm listening to these statements, it sounds like things children would say. When we got hurt, you didn't even care. The uncooked lasagna, I don't know if she made them. So the uncooked, was it uncooked? Were the noodles just not cooked enough? I don't know that it was completely but like you're not going to go back and forth over the bad lasagna. It reminded me of Lori Vallow's green chili chicken enchiladas. Kouri was probably really mad about them bringing up her bad cooking because she probably thought she was a really good cook. I don't know. Like Kouri, because Corey's about impressions. And so um it is what it is. I like my lasagna noodles kind of mushy. Like I don't want them crunchy or like I like them uh I like them, I don't know. So, but yeah, that came up. Um and and then that Kouri made them watch videos of children like that needed food, not having food. One of the children also talked about animals. A lot of them talked about animals dying. And yeah, I don't know what happened to the animals. Uh, and then um yes, all right. So they talked about those things. Did Kouri possibly attempt to poison one of the children? We'll never know. I don't know. You have to be careful with Fent because small doses can cause problems. Like if any powder, like you stay away from Fent altogether. I have Narcan in my office at work. I don't have any at home. But if you know anybody in your family in your life, if you normally you can get Narcan for free through your local community health services board. In Virginia, it's our community, what's it called? Our community services board. They offer free. Thank you for gifting 5 memberships. I appreciate it. All right. Yeah, like I don't think kids would make up pets dying. Now was Kouri, so I don't think Kouri would do a good job taking care of anything other than her. Like would she forget to clean up after something or I don't know, like Kouri just doesn't seem responsible in my opinion. Kouri comes off incredibly emotionally immature. It seemed like a middle school girl sitting over there. Like that's how it felt. It felt very middle school. Like that's how the sentencing felt. Those are just my personal thoughts and opinions. I can't assess her. I never assessed her. So that's my disclaimer. Okay. In the sentencing memorandum, the state mentioned that she should not only serve her life in prison, but also their lives in prison. And that the children are afraid that she will come back. The oldest called Kouri a perpetrator. They all called her by her name. And the oldest, because we heard in a victim impact statement or a child on the stand call their parent the defendant. He called her a perpetrator, and I have no notes. that she threatened to kill a lizard. Lots of animals died, and that Kouri would lock him in his room. So, and all the children were afraid that she would take them and hurt them again. And so she had her right to maintain her innocence. Everybody believes that she is wholly incapable of redemption. That's how we all feel. Wholly incapable of redemption. And there were those 3 R's. It was like she's irrelevant. So it was all those different IRs, guilty words in their video talking about the state's sentencing memorandum, whatever that was, that she did a great job going over those three IRs. Okay, so Kouri. So Kouri's mother talked. Kouri cried when her brother talked. I feel like all of Kouri's emotions were for herself. My personal thoughts and opinion. She showed no emotion as her children were talking about how much pain they were in. No like sadness or like pain or like, oh my gosh, I'm so like that hurts me for my child. There was very little empathy, in my opinion, for what her children are going through. But I think she blames the state and she blames Katie. She blames everybody else. She doesn't take responsibility for what she did. And so so Kouri said that all she cares about is her boys. I don't believe her. I think she cares about money, men. I don't know that she cares about her boys. Those are my personal thoughts. That she wants to come home to them. That's scary. April 2024, custody was transferred, and she didn't want the Richins to get custody. The Darden side wanted custody. The whole thing was very Sarah Boone. She did not abandon them. She wanted them to know that she fought for them. And sometimes that can be good for kids to know, because I have worked with some children where their birth parents did not fight for them at all, where the child was harmed by a step parent or by one of the parents, and the other parent was given the option of like, hey, if you stay in this relationship, you're going to lose your kids. And that parent decided, I'm choosing this other person. And so when kids feel abandoned, so like there was a piece of that, of letting them know that she does, the way she says it though, it comes off manipulative in my opinion. So like 2 things can be true at the same time, and you can say a good thing the wrong way. So all of her statement came out the wrong way, but like I understood why she wanted them to know that she didn't abandon them. But I think it's like, this isn't my fault. Like, you're the victim, I'm the victim, and it's all the people that you're living with. Like, it's all their fault, and the state and the judge and the jury. Okay. She says, what did she say? Okay. I'm so sorry that you all are going through this. Your feelings are valid. Once again, true statement, but like coming from Kouri, but I think it's to validate her feelings. So when she said that part, it felt like she was trying to validate herself. I don't know that she was trying to validate them. It didn't feel that way. It didn't feel that way at all. All right. She starts talking about, I'm not perfect. Some things I regret. Some things I don't. Kouri's honest. Okay, so none of this is funny. Okay, so like I cope through laughing. Okay, like we have to laugh at Kouri, or else you want to pull your hair out. Okay, so when she says some things I regret, some things I don't. I don't regret punching Amy in the face. She didn't say the thing she didn't regret. Maybe that was in the longer version. I wonder if there's a longer version that lists out the things that she doesn't regret. But like, ma'am, you're on trial for like killing your husband. And she's over here like, there are some things I regret, some things I don't. And I don't know what those things are. Okay. Some things I'm ashamed of, some things I'm not. I think that was honest. I think that was honest. Okay. So then she went on to talk about your dad, the things behind my back. So that should have never been in her statement. So when I'm working with because let's say, so I work with individuals in difficult custody situations, or I work with individuals where the parent is deceased due to like an overdose or something like that. And I never want, you shouldn't talk bad about the other parent to your children. And so to put in her children's letter, your dad did stuff behind my back. Why, ma'am? Why? I don't think that had to be said, but there was a lot of things in her statement that maybe didn't have to be said, but she made a choice. She made a choice. It was her time. The judge gave her all the time. The state didn't even object. The state didn't object at all. So I won't know the answer to this. That's not public. So if Amy's statement was about not being able to see them now, so at the end of this video, we can talk about the Dykeman verdict. So we can do that today at the end of this video. And I'll make a note to come back to that. Hopefully my brain doesn't squirrel. Hopefully not, but we'll see. I like this comment. In her sentencing statement, she once again used her children and their trauma to hide from accountability and make herself the victim. I agree. I completely agree. Do you think her saying, "I am your mother," was a threat? So I'll get to the point that I thought was a threat. And I was uncomfortable with the way she said some stuff. When Amy mentioned losing her twins and her job, that was very difficult. What do you think of Josie Dyke? Yeah, so I will leave some comments at the end for Josie. So I will come back to those comments at the end. I can't squirrel because I know I squirrel enough. My brain bounces around enough without this. And so, but thank you for the $5, and we will get to that at the end. And she was like, we always found our way back to each other. We forgave, we moved on and loved. Ugh. And so she went on and on. She was upset that the verdict only took 3 hours. In my opinion, she continues to soil Eric's memory, to alluding to the fact. So I don't think he was in a gay relationship with his friend, and I don't know. Like I don't trust what Kouri says. I don't know that he ever had an affair. Now maybe there was like an emotional, like maybe there was a connection with somebody at work. Maybe she didn't like that they went out to lunch. Maybe Kouri was jealous. So individuals with narcissistic traits, they will often accuse you of what they are doing. So an individual with narcissistic traits that's always like up in the phone and like tracking where you are and all those things. Not always, but sometimes the thing that they're assuming the other person is doing is what they're actually doing. And I think she wants to make him to be the bad guy too. Like I wasn't the only one stepping out on our marriage. I thought it was interesting that the ex-boyfriend, y'all know his name, he got real emotional on the stand, that he had according to the private investigator went on Nate Eaton's show, and he talked about the fact that that gentleman had a pocket will that said, if I die, Kouri did it, or something, or like Kouri killed her husband, or I don't know. Like he had a pocket will that where he was suspecting Kouri. And so, okay, it is what it is. How do people detach from their children like that? I'm not sure she was ever securely attached, but more from if she does have like narcissistic type traits, to me, so a history of past negative things does not give somebody an excuse to do negative things. My personal thoughts is she never healed from what happened in her family when she was a child, because she did the exact same things and worse to her children that her mother did to her. Because in her like autobiographical letter or whatever she did on that retreat, where she talked about her mom gambling away money and put blah, blah, blah. When Kouri talked about all those things, Kouri did that to her children, but I don't think she acknowledges it. And so she lacks insight. She lacks insight into how other people hear her words. No ability to like, this isn't playing over well. You making faces, like smug, laughing, rolling your eyes, defiant faces during your children's victim impact statements. Oh, yes, Josh Grossman. Thank you so much. Do you think Kouri's lawyers really believe she's innocent? Yeah, I don't think they believe the state proved it. It is what it is. And there are people that will defend somebody even if they know, because they want the state to prove it. But based on their statements, they are asking for a new trial. I don't think they're going to get one. I could be wrong. I think Judge M ruled in a phenomenal way. That is why we want good juries. We want, good lawyers. We want the judge to make the appropriate decisions, where sometimes things are let in and we're like, why? Or things are kept out and we're like, why? But sometimes that can help a case on appeal. And so they're going to draw up something. It is what it is. It is what it is. And I also think, so I don't know that she's homophobic. I think she knows his family is religious. And I think that played into they didn't want to accept the real him. And even if he was gay, I wouldn't care. But like, why is she still soiling his memory? I still need to know where Bryce's pants are. I do. I really need to know where Bryce's pants are. We never found Bryce's pants. What do you think about her nonverbal communication during victim impact statements? I hope that you heard my statements about that. If you were coming in later to the stream, make sure to go back towards the beginning. I did talk about that. We're going to get to her threats in a minute. I took it as a threat. She probably would say it was a statement. It seemed, I was concerned with a very specific sentence in her statement. She said, I will be coming home to you. My letters will never stop. I will never stop. I will be coming home to you. My cards, my letters, they will never stop. I will never stop. And I was like, I'm your mother. I'll never stop. And that, if the judge wasn't going to do LWOP, that's a good reason to do LWOP. So the state was asking for a ongoing protective order where she doesn't try to reach out to the children. And this judge is not going to do that. The family court will do something until they're 18. And then once they're 18 years old, they might be able to do some type of protective order. The nice thing with jail communications is you can just block the prison number and it's fine. You can just block the prison mail. You can't block it because it'll still come. But if there is a protective order, it won't go to the person at all. And so I don't know what family court will do. Yes, thank you for saying this, Mama. She definitely seemed to be more transactional than relational. So some individuals see people as a means to an end and don't see the people. Some people see people as objects and not as people. Some people see their children as like tools to be used. Because I think she wants the children, because I think she wants the money. My personal thoughts, I don't know that to be true. I think she doesn't want to be cut off from the children, because cut off from the children, she's cut off from the trust. And I don't think she wants to be cut off from the trust. Those are just my own personal thoughts. And I think a part of that isn't just for the children. I think it's to be upset at Katie too. Like I think it's to continue to just do that to the Richins family. My personal thoughts, I don't know that to be true. And it didn't fully, to me, I've worked with individuals that when they were rejected by their children, that they ended up retaliating in a way that was very harmful. So I see a difference between parental alienation and parental rejection. So with parental alienation, so if I was working with the children, I would ask the Richins family to not say negative things about their mom. I would ask for them to not talk about the case in front of the children. I would ask for certain things like let's let home be home. She's going to be like, let's just, unless the children ask questions, and maybe those are one-on-one conversations, and then to make sure that you've been to therapy and you're working on your thoughts, your feelings, that you're not putting your feelings onto the children. That would be something that I would say, because there can, in an effort to protect a child, some people can go down a parental alienation route, and that's where they are intentionally withholding the children. I do think there's a safety concern here, and I think Katie fully believes that Eric did not want her to have anything to do with the children. And I don't know how, I don't know Eric. I never met him. I don't know how true that is. And if she hadn't done the crime, she, she would have custody. Like if he was alive, she would have parental rights. They would probably still be married, but there was a financial avalanche that was coming that he probably would have left her. Like I don't think he knew just how in debt she was. Cuz even the financial expert was like, this is what I can find. Like the financial expert was phenomenal. We will see what happens with her financial crimes case, because she's LWOP, but adding more years on could potentially make sure that she never comes out, because Utah has a weird parole board. And people have commented, because also sometimes prison sentences can be adjusted later, similar to how even though the Menendez brothers were given life without the possibility of parole, they were later resentenced based on some things that happened in their trial and evidence that was kept out. And so they do go before a parole board meeting. I don't know how often, but they now do have the potential for parole at some point. We'll see if that ever happens. But so just because somebody gets life without the possibility of parole doesn't necessarily mean that, except for in Florida. In Florida, life is life. Florida, they don't. Utah's sentencing stuff is real hokey pokey to me personally, but it is what it is. So I believe the state said that she was too dangerous to ever be free. So some of y'all's questions, somebody asked about my thoughts about Kouri's statement and manipulation. Were her emotions genuine? I think she's mad and she's hurt for what she is going through and for what she believes the state has put her through. All of her emotions, in my opinion, are from a very self-centered, her at the center of the universe and world. And it's how this has affected her. And she had some thoughts about that. Reminded me of Sarah Boone. And a lot of people have said they did not see tears. There was a lot of snotty stuff happening, but they didn't see tears. I don't know. I tried. It was painful to listen to. Her statement, that 49 minutes, I listened to it on 2x speed, thankfully. Oh, thank goodness. I did not have to listen to her regular speed. It was painful because to me, she continued to try to soil the children's memories, Eric's memory, and she continues to try to put herself at the center, which is why I will not react to her sentencing. I can't put myself through it. Now, if I was available to be live, so that day I had a full day of clients, I was not able to react live. If I react live, I'm watching it live. We're watching it together. Y'all get the real reaction right then and there. I could not do that to myself again. I just couldn't. I could not do that to myself again. It was painful. So if Kouri came into my office as an outpatient therapist, which what would I have diagnosed her with? Based on the financial stuff, and so she would need a psychological evaluation. But if she was just coming in for outpatient therapy, most therapists start with like adjustment disorder, or like most therapists start with a neutral thing. I do not diagnose a personality disorder based on just from an initial intake with somebody. You find another diagnosis. What would be most likely to happen is Kouri would have ended up in my office about the children. She would have been mad about the children's behavior. So often narcissists don't go to therapy. Their children go to therapy, their partners go to therapy. And if they go to therapy, you have to be very careful to not give them language to then weaponize against other people. So Dr. Ramani, she's talked a lot about how sometimes an individual with narcissistic personality disorder, who has an antagonistic personality type, they will say, "Oh, the therapist told me you have to validate me. Like my therapist told me you always have to agree with me." And it's like, no, but so sometimes the therapist's words can be weaponized against other people. So you have to be very careful. So an individual with those types of traits and features, they have to go to somebody that specializes in that type of work. Do you think Kouri was emotional only when she was receiving fuel? uh, so I think when her emotions came and went quickly. So her emotions seem surface level to me. So when she gets upset, she's really upset for like a short period of time and then it goes away. Like the emotion is gone. Like it's completely gone from her face and everything. So she doesn't seem to feel deep, but she can feel a lot really fast. And to me personally, it feels surfacey. I do not know her, so I can't say that for sure. Do individuals with narcissistic or antisocial personality traits always present an alternative version of reality? So sometimes individuals are protecting their ego. And I did a video about, is it delusion or is this person like their ego just won't let them see anything else? And so sometimes that can be an ego defense. So if Kouri fully felt, so individuals with narcissistic type traits, they often have a very weak ego, a very weak sense of self, where it doesn't take much for them to crumble. And they often puff themselves up to, I'm the best, I'm so smart, I'm amazing. I don't think she had I'll have to go back and watch her faces during the financial expert, because the financial expert was professionally saying she did not know what she was doing. I know math. Kouri was not, that math was not. I have never seen somebody get so creative and she said it in the most professional way, but she was over here being like, she was not a good business person. And, but I think Kouri just blocked that out. Like, you don't know me. You don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, ah. And so, in my experience, the individuals that I often work with are the family members. I often don't work with the individual with those traits, often don't come to therapy. What are your thoughts on Lisa Darden and her behaviors? So I think she believes Kouri. She supports Kouri. So I think Lisa, in my opinion, so Lisa Darden was in the courtroom and she chose to not read her statement. And it might have been that she felt she could make it through, or she didn't want her words scrutinized or her appearance. And because people come for people. The court feed camera did find her in court because she did not read her statement. One of the attorneys read it for her, and it was what it was. If it was my child, I would have my child take responsibility. I don't know if my child had been convicted of what Kouri did. I wouldn't be up there blaming the judge. And I watched the trial, and if I watched everything, I saw the evidence. Oh, this is bad for you. Your friend, Allie was the one that said, she kind of joked that we all said, don't eat what Kouri feeds you. Like, she might be trying to poison you. Like, that's what Kouri's friend, said that. I think that the defense elicited that statement. And so the state had a very strong case. There was some circumstantial evidence. Like they didn't find the cup that had the drink in it, but all of Kouri's statements were about that Moscow Mule. And so, it is what it is. But yeah. Oh, so the lasagna might have been frozen. Maybe it wasn't cooked because you have to, if you have a frozen lasagna, like, and if it says you have to cook it for 30 minutes, sometimes you have to cook it for 45 minutes or an hour to get it cooked all the way through to the middle. The end pieces will cook faster. I do a lot of like prepared food. And so, yeah. All right. So those are my general thoughts about that part. Let me pull up some more of y'all's questions. I screenshot some of y'all's questions. Let me make sure, did I get to this one here? Oh, what do you make of her saying there's no guidebook on how to react? Yeah, that's true. So people were going to scrutinize no matter what she did. We're all doing the Monday morning quarterback. When you look back, she's already arrested, and you're going to scrutinize every little thing. Yeah, I guess so. But don't write a children's book about it, or I think maybe there are some things that you definitely shouldn't do, but she didn't write the book. So the book on grief, she didn't write it. But, and once again, she was trying to make money, my own personal thoughts and opinion. And I think everybody else is too. Okay. So questions from y'all's comments. What did she really mean by I will never stop? She will never stop loving them, trying to care for them. I think trying to reach them. And I think she did not want her children to be taken away from her. I think she doesn't want to be out of control. And the fact that somebody else is going to tell her that she can't talk to her children, she's going to be like, fuck, I don't know that she's going to. And the great, I don't want to say great, but if there is an order that says she can't contact the children and she continues to do it, that can be a parole violation. Like that might be a violation. I don't know. So we'll see what actually happens. And also, this was the message that I think she also wanted the world to hear. I don't know that this was only for her children. I think she doesn't want to be portrayed as a bad mom, a murderer, those kinds of things. And okay. Maybe for the full video, a topic on parental alienation. So I did talk about parental alienation versus child rejection. Sometimes your child remembers what happens and they don't want to talk to you. That's different than adults telling them a narrative, telling them this is why you shouldn't talk, or this is, I don't know, like it's different when it's an adult narrative versus when it's the child's narrative. Parental rejection by the child versus parental alienation by a guardian or by the other parent. Those are different things. Yeah. Let me see. Kouri says the boys accused her of being harmful to his family or harmful because the family coached them. And I think she made that statement. Maybe that was from their whatever was in the state's document too. I don't know. So how do we make sure that we don't coach? How do we check in to see if things are coached? Children say things in a way that adults don't. And I can tell, or I get my little antennas go up when children give language that's not consistent with how children normally talk about things. And the way the kids talked about things, it seemed to be from a child's perspective and from their memory. I personally did not feel like it sounded like somebody else told them, well, what about this? Could it have been? So kids are also very, very suggestible. And they don't trust her, understandably. And their brains might also have difficulty remembering any of the good. And so I hope this gives them time to heal and as they continue to move forward. Somebody mentioned she hijacked the court to manipulate the boys further. She also used the boys as a shield to spout her vitriol to others. I agree. It also wasn't lost on me how she accused Eric of being an addict and a cheater when she was the one that was smoking. Like she was the one that was cheating. So she was irrational, irreparable or irreparable. That's the word. And irredeemable. Those were the three that came. So irrational, irreparable. Yeah. Y'all know sometimes me in words. Irreparable and irredeemable, I believe is how you say that word. And from Guilty Words video, it's a really good video. I highly recommend that y'all go back and watch that video because the state's memorandum talked about poison. and how that being like the most detestable way, and that the state gave a quote for that. Um, let's see. Somebody wanted me to give a diagnosis of Kouri's facial expressions, and I just think she's so there's some things that don't fit into the DSM, and it's just not right. So clinical things meet a threshold and they appear in other circumstances. I would love to see her jail record. Like, how is she doing in jail? Courtney Clenny. If y'all don't, so there's a lawyer named Jay. He got all of Courtney Clenny's. She's currently awaiting trial for unaliving her boyfriend. That's the allegation. And he went through all of her discipline and all of her grievances that she's filed since she's been in jail. And it was a very interesting read. I personally feel like she might have some personality disorder stuff. And I think how she'll behave in court is also how she's behaving in the jail. So if I have more information, I can make like a stronger statement. Only seeing Kouri in court with the cameras, that's not enough to get an idea on like how somebody is. So yeah. All right. She definitely has no remorse because she's denying that she did it, but I don't believe her. All right. Um Somebody also mentioned how people criticize Kouri's facial expressions. And so an individual that's on the autism spectrum reached out and they were concerned that people might misinterpret their facial expressions, not knowing that maybe people that are neurodivergent process information differently. So to me, Kouri's facial expressions came off defiant. So I know I have to be aware of my facial expressions. And I also let the people that are close to me know if there's a look on my face, because sometimes I might be thinking and I might have a look on my face, but it's not about the person in front of me. It's actually what's happening in my head. Sometimes I overanalyze things, and so it's not always what's happening here in the moment. And so the people closest to me, they'll check in with me to be like, "Hey, you good?" I'm like, "Oh yeah." Like, I was just, my bad. I was thinking about this, and we're fine. I did point out in the Tanner Horner sentencing phase, because at one point, when I think it was the victim's uncle was like wanted Tanner to look at him, and Tanner's, I think his a part of the autism spectrum part, and once again, not an excuse, and autism was not why he did what he did, but I did think some of his facial expressions in court was related to his diagnosis. Um, just helps me put things together. So I didn't overanalyze because I thought him looking back at the person, I don't think that was threatening or menacing. Like, the person said his name, and I think maybe the person wanted him to look at him. Most defendants won't. Like, most defendants read the room and they're like, he's talking to me, but he really doesn't want me to look at him. And I think Tanner missed that. So yeah. All right. All right. So any more questions about Kouri before we take a brief detour into Josie Dykeman's trial and sentencing? Any other questions about Kouri? And of course, I will continue to monitor the chat. So if things come in, I will take a look at it. But all right. And so Corey's defense team, yeah, they're supporting her. It is what it is. Okay. So is her overall behavior, all of those things align with associate? So I think that was for money. But she also has financial crimes. She has other stuff too. So within the DSM-5, it's antisocial personality disorder, and those traits need to be present prior to 8. So normally the person is having issues in their teenage years into adulthood. I don't have enough information. She seems to center herself and her needs. So there's a selfishness, agreed, a lack of concern for others, and kind of that dark triad. So with the dark triad, that's the Machiavellianism, dark triad, narcissism and psychopathy. And so she may kind of have a bit of that dark triad. So, all right. All righty. Why aren't assessments before people do have so in the US they will never like they don't do that. I wish parent support was free for all parents. Parenting is hard. I mentioned to you all, and y'all might have heard on my stream a little bit earlier, even as a licensed psychologist, my child may have issues that go beyond what I can help him with. And so that's where we recently had a psychological evaluation. I will not share because that's my child's private stuff. So I will not share the definite results here until he's old enough to kind of, I want to give him the ability to like, yeah, he'd have to be like 15, 16 if he was okay with me talking about certain things here. But I like to be open with I'm a psychologist and my kid needed a psychological evaluation. He has a loving home. He's like things are good. We teach emotion regulation skills. We teach the things that he needs, and it came to be a point where um I was concerned that we were missing something. And so we're going through that process, and then we'll take our next steps. I've always joked on my channel. So on my across social media, I've joked my kid will have a therapist by 10. And it's not so I view therapy as something, it's a way to get an outsider's perspective on your behavior. So therapy has been very beneficial to me, and I wish I had received therapy as a child, more related to my parents' divorce and struggles I was having in school. I probably would have been assessed and diagnosed with ADHD as a child. I still don't know that my mother would have ever agreed to medication because she was like, Patricia, I don't know, like she was old school. The mom that y'all see with me now is like more, she has more information. We have more knowledge about things now. But I like to be clear with those things because nobody's perfect. No parent is perfect. There might be times where a person, gets dark thoughts. And so you just don't do crimes. You get help, you get support, all those things. Despite the verdict, do you think the state actually proved their yeah, okay, so the Dykeman case. Let's switch to Josie Dykeman. Okay. And so Josie Dykeman, let me pull up the gist of that one. So I think she was found guilty of a lesser included because I believe the state charged her with first degree capital M, and I think the jury found her guilty of something less than that. I do believe the mandatory sentence is still life in prison without the possibility of parole. So after a three-week trial, 12-person jury found Josie Dykeman guilty in the death. So content warning for the death of a 6-year-old. So in the death of her 6-year-old stepson, AJ Pedrin. Alexander AJ Pedrin. In February of 2023, she was found guilty of first degree reckless homicide and first because she was charged with first degree intentional homicide. So the jury did a lesser included. And so she was charged with intentional, and she was found guilty of reckless. They also found her guilty of chronic neglect of a child. And yes. And a guilty verdict was reached on account of physical harm of a child, repeated acts causing physical harm, and the maximum penalty for this charge is life in prison. So maybe the maximum penalties are life in prison. So I might have read that wrong as I was studying for this case. So the father of the child testified, and his testimony was not credible to me, in my opinion. He was on video physically harming the child. I don't know why the state did not charge him, but he was not there when the child passed. But he could have inflicted harm. And he also had a history of chronic harm. And if he has children in his care, Is social services? I have questions. I have so many questions, but, like, eh because the mother of one of his children testified in Josie's trial, and she seemed scared of him in a little bit, like, he was sitting in court during testimony. Josie Dykeman did testify in her own case, and before her testimony, they had a psychologist talk about traumatic brain injury, and I do believe that she has a traumatic brain injury. Her affect is very, very flat. She comes off very, very flat. Um, there is documented, and it was pre-event. She's documented to have had significant, memory, significant issues functioning, difficulty holding things, and so, that was not new. She had a very serious traumatic brain injury. I think was charged by the child that passed mother. That's how Jenny, something like that. Like that was the allegation. Um the jury thought the state proved at least intentional reckless homicide, and there had been a long history of children being harmed. The judge allowed past evidence in. I wasn't a huge fan of the judge, I'll be honest. I wasn't a huge fan of the courtroom. The state was aggressive, but in a way that came off like they were nagging sometimes. Like, there was it was and I don't know if that's just that courtroom in Wisconsin. Maybe I don't know if that's how they do things, but it was difficult to watch. If you like trial coverage, I watched JD Explains. He broke down different aspects of different testimony, and so I did not watch the entire trial, but I did watch all of her testimony because I was interested in the forensic psychologist, and then also the her testimony to see if there was anything I would break down with that. But she was convicted of the lesser included, and I think she had seen the children being harmed and did not stop it. And it reminds me of the Adam Montgomery case with Harmony Montgomery and the stepmother. Now, the stepmother testified against Adam, and we know exactly when that crime happened, and we know exactly what happened with that case. She still ended up with some charges, but she testified against him, and her charges were a lot less. Um, I do believe that Josie was the victim of DV, but I'm not completely convinced that she never caused any harm herself. And so when the child got on the stand and said that the mother never spent any time with him, that there was no positive things, that's where, and that child I think still lives with the dad. And so that child's testimony felt coached to me. When you talk about a child feeling coached, and I don't know that the defense was able to ask, you know, did your dad talk with you? I don't know. Like, I don't know if they can ask. Like, because her being convicted kind of takes it. I don't know. I don't know. Like, so that case was messy. That case was really, really messy. And so, I think the jury, I respect the jury's decision. They found her guilty. Two things can be true at the same time. A person can have a history of trauma and also be harmful. The fact that this child was the child of the person that caused her that injury, like, and I don't know if the jury put two in, I don't know, but, like, because the other children said that she treated that child different. She tried to say no. I don't know. I don't know. And so, um, it was it was, and I have seen adults mad at somebody else take it out on the child. And so that is not beyond reason. That is not beyond something that I have seen personally. And, and so I wish these children had gotten help sooner. I hope that they're in some type of therapy. Sometimes because therapists are mandated reporters, but there might CPS might be involved. I don't know. So social services might be involved with this family. I don't know. But it was a very difficult thing. Did you see the pictures of the house? It was really bad. She didn't cook, didn't clean, didn't do laundry. So, and I do think the traumatic brain injury impacted what she could do, but I don't know. Like it is what it is. All right. And she tried to blame the Xanax on the other guy. I don't know. The jury convicted her. They did not find that her actions were intentional, um, and instead found her guilty of reckless homicide. So that is that case. Let me make sure I answered y'all's questions. So I hope I fully answered that. Um, and then this one, yes, I answered that one. All right. So I need to go to the grocery store. We put up, I'm going to share the picture because I'm super excited. As I told y'all about the ceiling fan, and we finally got the ceiling fan up. It's not, my photos aren't syncing. Okay, I think it's sunk. I have to do it another way. All right. So this, I'm really proud of, so I needed my husband's help. I think I told y'all I was going to try to do the ceiling fan and was having trouble with it. And so I stopped because I tried last Saturday to put this up and it was a two-person job, including an engineer. So my husband is an aerospace engineer. He knows like about all the technical stuff and I might have electrocuted myself. And so I knew to ask for help and he was very helpful. And so, yay. So that's the new ceiling fan in the space themed room. And so I like it. I'm super excited about that. Uh, and so I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. And I will see you all next. I'll see you all Tuesday. So be kind, don't do crimes, and I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye.